Welcome back to another episode of Forgotten Gear Restorations. We are back at it in this 1954 Fender Deluxe. We made a lot of progress this morning. Let me show you what's going on. Hope this finds you and yours well out there on a rainy Friday. If you're sitting in California, we're getting hammered. Finally some actual weather. I don't have to go back home to Louisiana to get it. So keep sending it. Whoever's blowing this stuff over here, keep it coming. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Tell your mom, tell your friends. Bye. Top of the rainy morning, goons and mutants out there. It's good to be back. And I hope you guys had a great Christmas out there. I know I did. We are back inside of the chassis of this 1954 Fender Deluxe. This is the 5C3 circuit. Super cool little amp. We have some highly drifted components, as you might have suspected. Have some caps as well that need to be replaced. But I'm going to focus on the power section for now, or the power amplifier and the bias circuit. All these electrolytics have to go, as well as the decoupling resistors or droppers, as some people call them. These have drifted up to around 14K, 13 and 14K respectively. Normally I would just leave them be. But we're going to bring this thing as close to factory spec as possible and leave the drifted components where they make the most musical difference. So, having said all that, I'm going to get inside of this thing and start working. I don't know how much I could show you. It may just be a before and after. But I will point out the necessity to gently poke and pull on things, just so I can illustrate that point. Let me move the camera over and show you something real quick. Okay, so I could probably show you guys what I'm talking about without making too much of a disturbance on this little camera mount here that's right in the way, so I'm going to have to reach around. Where are we at there? There we go. So look at the tip of my iron here. And then this is obviously the positive lead or hot lead off of the output transformer's secondary. Very critical. So you can see that that solder joint has broken. So what we're going to do, and then, it's just the paper shell. And then the phase inverter coupling caps over here are going to have to go, unfortunately. And I'm going to take this low quality cap here out of the equation. And then I wanted to show you that one thing that I was referring to yesterday with respect to quality control in the 50s, and this being an anomaly. So let me move the camera once more. Hang on. All right, so have a look down here and see if you can guess what I'm referring to. See anything odd? Like, what stands out to you? This was just tack soldered in there. So I'd like to know what happened and what drove the decision to do that. Outside of, hey, did we forget to add this cap during pre-assembly? Who knows? It doesn't even matter, like I said prior. Because a lot of people can point to this and say, hey, look, you know what? A tack solder joint can live a long life for, 70 plus years. This joint is still doing great. As opposed to this other one over here on that output transformer secondary that's not holding up so well, is it? Is there an argument to be made? Yeah, there sure is. But we do the right thing whenever we can because it's the right thing. And there's a reason why it's the right thing. So a solid mechanical joint versus using solder as a glue. Because in this particular example, let me try to focus on that. In this particular example, assuming the same joints would have failed, Or let's switch cases here. If the other one failed, there would be a loss of contact altogether, or intermittent at best. And at least this joint here had a fighting chance, right? Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But I haven't had coffee yet. Maybe you haven't either. Bye. All right, pardon, I got to go handheld here. So the output jack is roasted. There's 2 broken tabs. Good thing I went down and inspected it. And then a lot of corrosion between that toothed washer and itself, so had to be removed and then scrubbed clean. But just take a look at that positive terminal down there, and then you can see how I wrapped the lead from the output transformer secondary as well as the jumper to the extension jack. And then we'll apply some solder. All right, here we go with the jack repair. And I rewired it a bit as well for reliability. And then in the background, you can see that I just evacuated the solder from the components that I'll be focused on right now. I'm going to clean up the remainder of that old flux there, and then we'll move on. So I think this is where I'll end off this particular video because we got some stuff to do. Talk soon. All right, an obvious overabundance of light, but let me just sweep you over the board there and you can see all the shiny new parts that were either out of tolerance or leaky. So I had to repair the jacks right here, some solder joints on the pots. We had some really bad joints and wiring on the jacks. I had to replace one of those as well. I'm going to clean up all this extra flux there and make her a little bit nicer looking before I'm willing to say, hey, let's start running some additional tests. Now, you'll notice that I do offset the filter caps on these old amps just to keep them away from those decoupling resistors, which don't really get all that hot, but it's just something that my mental condition needs to see in order to be satisfied. So that's what you're going to get. I do need to focus on this area. I'm going to remove that death cap. And turns out that wrapper that I found in the initial video, it's just dawned on me, was around the death cap right there. This guy right here. Another Astron, no doubt. So it was sitting over here by V1 during the initial assessment video. But I'm going to go ahead and make some moves on this power cord, get it wired up to code, because right now the neutral is going to the tip of the fuse, and that's not where it needs to go. So update soon there, Travis. Hope all's well with you, man. Bye-bye.